Duper.
Oh my God, I feel so out of practice.
Do you?
When was the last time
It's December the 10th. I know.
Take this off because it's...
Jesus Christ, could you not have done this before?
Sorry.
Oh, I haven't even got my phone. Tank hates me.
People in glass houses.
Hang on.
There's a little ditty she's singing in the city, especially when she's been on the gin or the beer. Every day it grows.
Does it?
Yes. Oh my God, did you see him in that like Coldplay thing?
Well, though, does he?
Don't say that. Don't say that.
9 years old.
No, he looks really good for his age, and he can move. And he goes to the gym every day.
My dad still goes to the gym, bless him. Oh, no, I'm distracted.
There's a little ditty
Okay.
she's singing.
Oh, no, don't need that. Right.
I wrote this so long ago now.
Yeah, you were really organised.
I was really
I just
organised.
did all of it today
In a last minute panic. And then when we were editing a document
at the same time. And then you wrote, "You're a dick." And I wrote, "I think you mean Y-O-U-R-E."
Ironically, with the name of the podcast.
So not ironic.
No.
Anyway, continue. What are we doing? I
Starting?
think you should introduce last time because the last time I tried it, I forgot the name of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Everybody knows you're never the only one. You're never the only one. Don't live inside your shame, 'cause everybody makes mistakes.
Welcome to episode 10 of You're Never the Only One.
Do you know?
Keep it simple sometimes, sometimes simple is best. Don't over egg the pudding.
Sorry. Are you just saying that you didn't over-egg the pudding? Did you or did you not?
Okay, I didn't
just sing our title.
I didn't think that was very...
No.
Should we start?
Pudding unegged.
Okay.
We've started.
Yeah.
We're in.
Let's go.
Come on then, it's your turn to introduce me first.
Oh, okay, right. Actually, so listen, I've got a little bit bored of these roasts.
Oh.
So instead, in true dick, in true.
There's an animal called a dick.
What?
There is an animal called a dick. It's really cute.
No way.
So cute.
Do you know there's a mountain in Germany called Wank? And it even says it on the cable cars. Where are you going?
Wank. Tell me
Yeah.
that is not the cutest animal you've ever seen in your life.
Oh my God.
It's a dick.
Does
I'm
that
just
get any
gonna put it
bigger
in the
than that?
camera. Does that what?
Does it grow? Does it get any bigger? It's a genuine question because it's very cute and little. It's a cute little dick.
No, I think they're little dicks.
they just stay small. Dicks.
Yeah, they're just dicks that stay small. They
I can't
don't
stop
grow.
saying dick.
Right, come on.
Okay, so I thought in true Dick Van Dyke fashion, I'd do your little ditty. I'm not going to sing it. I'm not going to
I
sing
didn't
it.
even know you were doing that, and I brought up Dick Van Dyke.
Isn't that weird?
we are
It's not.
so
It's not
into-
really. It's just a little. I
Oh
don't
my
know.
God, get on with it.
Okay, all right. So here we go. I'm joined by Kat Sims. She's the queen of the chat. She's got a quick comeback. I'll give her that. She's witty. She's sharp. On that we'll agree. But I've never seen someone with such chunky knees.
Have I got chunky knees?
I thought we discussed it. We both do. I thought that was a thing. I thought we bonded over our chunky knees.
You've never mentioned chunky knees.
I thought we both said we had quite thick.
I think you might. Is
that
this like
an
the time that
Is that
I
an
bought?
inside thought?
Is this like the time that I bought tickets to a Harold Pinter show for Jimmy because I thought it was his favourite playwright, and it turned out it was for my ex-boyfriend who liked Harold Pinter. So
No, but you do have chunky knees, though.
do I?
So do
It
I.
isn't anything I've ever really focused on before.
but we've got quite,
I've
like-
never had a conversation,
When we
even
were at
with
your house.
myself,
When
about
we-
my own knees.
Go. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, cool.
Continue.
That was it.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. We're leaving on
Okay.
chunky knees.
I'm really sorry. I genuinely, I mean, I know it's a roast, but I thought that, do you remember we were getting ready at your house and we were like talking about our legs and how they're quite, and the
And listen,
and
don't
the
get me
cankles.
wrong.
I can do that one next week.
I
though.
don't have cankles.
Okay, sorry.
Chunky knees, at a push, I can sort of see where you're coming from.
Okay, good.
Cankles, that's not my vibe.
No, I do, and I'm
Great.
okay with it.
I'm happy for you. Right. So I'd like to say I'm really happy to be joined by Emma, but actually I'm not. I'd rather do it on my own right now. I'm joking. All right. So Emma, as
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to tell us, has
Yeah.
been on a family holiday to Dubai.
Yes.
But it actually sounds more like it was sort of an eat, pray, love moment. You had some sort of midlife crisis because she's come home. Apparently, she's too good for Instagram.
What?
She doesn't like Instagram.
What? That's not true.
She doesn't want to be an influencer.
Shut up.
So she's going to be a travel agent. She's going to be a travel agent. She gets free holidays. So watch this space. I might be on the lookout for a new podcast host who doesn't hate social media.
I don't.
And maybe actually, if there's one that also doesn't have chunky knees, that would be
And cankles, don't forget.
and cankles.
God, it's rich coming from you. Look at you sat cross-legged. It's like being in studio with the Mitchell brothers. Right, so let's
I'm just showing off my chunky knees.
be proud.
Yeah.
Be chunky and proud. Kit Kat.
That's
Right.
the merch. Chunky and proud.
Chunky and proud.
That's what we need.
Okay, so let me think. This is the point where, sorry, I'm just thinking that, like, because we're so far in now with our award-nominated podcast.
Oh yeah.
How the fuck did that happen?
Don't know.
We literally were like, how did this happen? I didn't even know there was an awards thing going
Also,
on.
I was sort of, we're episode 10, there's 12 episodes this season.
Yeah.
I was kind of in wind down phase. I was like, let's just fucking wrap this shit up now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love it, I have a great time, but it's a lot of
It's
work.
good fun, you know. We
been
tried our
nice.
best. Yeah.
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 And then-
thanks, guys. Good night.
Just literally out of the blue.
Yeah.
And there are people that I think nominate themselves for awards. That's fine. I get it. We need all the fucking recognition you can get. Like,
Yeah.
I do not judge them. I had no idea this was happening
Yeah.
until we suddenly just somebody messaged and went, "You've been nominated."
I couldn't believe it. You messaged me and I was like,
I was like, "We're 7 episodes in. How on earth can we have been nominated?"
And we're up next to like Davina McCall. I
Davina McCall.
love her podcast. And Luana. I love those girls.
Yeah, we're not.
as well.
I mean, we're not going to
Imagine.
win.
But well, listen, I'm just saying this could be the beginning of something. Luana, they have like they do a whole thing at like the London Palladium, don't they, or something?
Listen, live
could do live
podcasts
shows.
are on my vision board this
Okay,
year.
fantastic. So was I. I was on your vision board.
Last year,
Yes,
this
yeah.
year, I've got a new
There you
podcast
go.
host on there.
We should probably get on Ticketmaster now. What?
Took you ages to recognise that. I'm joking.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, live podcast show. And also, what I was thinking is I've got some Substack founding members.
Some what?
Some Substack founding members.
thought that's what you said.
Where they're the ones that pay like a big chunk of money to just be a lifelong member.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, but we could invite them. I'd say some. I'm talking about 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah.
But we could also get 2 or 3 people in and they could sit here while we do the podcast recording. We could get them in.
That's a good idea. I like that.
I like that
Bit of
too.
audience participation.
Yeah. So it's like a step between here and a live one. It's like
Okay.
just have a few people in the room.
I like it. I like it.
Anyway, should we move on?
Yes, sorry.
But-
So, yeah,
I was going to say vote, but I can't vote because voting is over now.
it's done. It's
Yeah.
done. Right. So before we do tuck into our topics and hear from listeners, 'cause I've had quite a few emails and
Yeah.
I've need. As you know by now, we like to do a quick catch up with each other. It works on 2 levels because you get to hear what we've been up to, and we don't have to speak to each other in between recordings. So, win-win. You first, Catherine.
So, well, listen, it's been a busy few weeks. It has been a few weeks
Yeah.
since we've been here before. So I'm not going to go through the whole, it's not a play-by-play. Nobody needs to know. But you know how before Christmas I was talking about how I was scheduling in my mental breakdown for January?
Yes.
That happened.
Oh, well done.
Totally. I mean,
bang
more,
on schedule.
Well, a bit early, actually. I'd say Christmas, New Year.
But you love January.
I do. I love January.
So that I was confused. Those 2
But
things.
it's
happening.
not the. I'm not having a mental breakdown about the month.
No.
I'm having a mental breakdown because December,
Yeah.
that last quarter was rough.
Yeah.
It was a lot. So I did. I had burnout completely. It took me ages and I went into isolation mode,
Right.
which is where I just stopped replying to anything
Yeah.
and everybody,
Yeah.
including my husband and my kids. Sometimes I literally just shut down.
Shut down.
And then I'm coming back. I would say in the last week or so, I'm starting to like really come back again. But I've also decided that it is time to go back on my ADHD meds. It is time to start HRT. So I've done that, went to the doctors, had my coil fitted this morning. And I'm going to start HRT. So over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a whole new me.
Did you have a blood test taken?
No, so she was like, we can do blood test. And she is going to do a blood test. She's like, but it'll probably come back normal unless we're...
She. You
Yeah.
see, she.
Because I went to
You
the
had,
GP. I have
you,
to
went, you had a
say-
female doctor. And obviously, I had a male doctor, and it was like trying to squeeze blood out of
Listen.
stone.
I have to say, I didn't go to the doctors for HRT for ages
Yeah.
because I was so embarrassed or self-conscious about finding any doctor that just, I walked in and said, I need HRT, and then rolling their eyes and going, oh, fucking Davina McCall,
Yeah.
you know,
Effect. Yeah.
And in the end, after my mental breakdown,
Yeah.
I'm using
You're
that
meant to
word
be.
flippantly. I'm using it flippantly. It wasn't breakdown. It was
Yeah.
a little bit burnout. It didn't
Yeah.
feel great. I thought I've got to get on top of this because I'm not all right.
Yeah.
So I went and I got a female doctor, and she was so wonderful. She went, yeah, well, let's get you on HRT. And I was like, what? And she said, and I said, do I need to do a blood test? She said, look, we'll do a blood test, but I'm going to put you on it anyway because we can do a blood test. It's probably going to come back normal unless we test you twice a day for 30 days. It's unlikely we're going to catch the time when your hormones are out of sync. She said, so we're just going to start you. And do you want to do it with progesterone pills or a coil? Me, I went, oh, I don't want the coil. And she went, why? I said, I'm sick of like putting hormones into my body. And she went, you're here for hormone replacement therapy. Because I was still in that like contraception vibe where I'm like, I'm not putting the hormones in just so that we don't have babies.
Is that what a coil is?
So the Marina
I
coil.
thought it was just like a plug.
So that's a copper coil.
Yeah.
It's not a plug.
But I thought it just stopped the spunk getting in.
No, so what it does is it makes...
Or zapped it or something.
This is the moment where Tank realises he would rather be anywhere else.
Tank opportunity.
Basically, the coil, the Marina coil is the hormone one. It emits a progesterone and it makes the mucus thicker.
Yeah.
So nothing can get through.
Oh, it creates a barrier.
Yeah.
You didn't have to say mucus, but you wanted to.
I did.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I did the coil today.
You did the coil.
And I just want to say, there's a lot of horror stories out there. If you Google coil and like implantate, people are like, it's the most painful thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody's different. For some people, it is painful. I have to say, for me, it really wasn't. There was like a couple of crampy moments. It was a breeze. So here's a little good news story. It's not always awful.
Good.
If you're putting it off because of the pain, just get it done. And I was offered anaesthetic. What I would say is go to the gum clinic rather than your GP. They do 100 a day. They're super skilled. They offer you anaesthetic. It's a very, very good way to do it. Go to the gum clinic rather than but if you go to gum clinic, you do have to say it's for contraception and not.
It does annoy me a
HRT.
little bit that you still have to. I mean, because also you're Jimmy's all like tied up, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it's just annoying. You still have to as a woman, you still have to put all these things in, do all this.
Yeah,
stuff.
but I feel better about it now because mine. The thing is, when I put hormones in my body for contraception, they can't give them to you quick enough. They're like, here you go, knock yourself out. They don't. They're like, yeah, let's give her the hormones. Let's heaven forbid, like, make this a male problem. Give her all the fucking hormones she wants to make sure she doesn't get pregnant. But then when my hormones start doing me dirty and going wrong, essentially, getting the hormones then, it's like a whole different story. Like, oh no, you can't. You're too young for those. So I don't mind putting all the hormone treatment in me if I know it's for my benefit because it's my body's not right.
Yeah.
I do resent the years and years that I put hormones in me because the boys I was with wouldn't wear a fucking condom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I resent.
Yeah.
In fact, my topic next week is about vasectomies.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
I know.
I was saying to you, my
know.
friend was very disappointed. Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll come into that.
next week. So go on. Yeah,
So that was it. HRT, ADHD meds, I'm going back on those. I did hit my Christmas book deadline, which that's still going, but I did make the deadline. And that's it, really. I'm just
quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the meds to kick in.
Okay, how long? When can we expect that?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, ADHD meds kick in straight away. So as soon as they come, they'll go. And then, I reckon by next week I'll be on something.
Ozempic.
That too.
Everyone else.
We need to have a come to Jesus chat about this because I'm seriously considering.
Okay, well, I'm not going to lie. After coming back from Dubai on an all-inclusive, I looked into it as a quick fix. I have no shame in saying. I know a lot of people will hide it, but honestly, I looked into it, couldn't get it. Not over the counter.
I think there's so many people who are doing Ozempic, and back in the day when it was taking medicine away from diabetics. 100%, I got it. I was like, okay, that's tricky. Now, Big Pharma's making a killing on this. They're making more than enough to go around. They've realised the demand. So there isn't an ethical issue for it in that sense for me anymore. Yeah. I am considering it just to kickstart me a little bit.
Also, it'll give us some content.
Well, there is that. Right,
you go.
Over to you. What about you?
Well, funnily enough, I went and got some blood tests done. Went to the doctor. Went with all the usual symptoms.
Are we talking menopause symptoms?
Yeah.
Yours was largely libido driven, wasn't it?
Libido, lethargy, waking up in the night, anxiety.
So the whole gamut.
The whole gamut, just being moody and horrible to everyone. But it turns out
You're just a cunt. Sorry.
I'm just a cunt that needed a holiday. I just needed a holiday.
You did.
And that's what I did. So I just I had 12 days in Dubs. It was incredible, all inclusive, proper splurge. You know, we hadn't been away for a really, really long time, and it was just so needed. And that is why I unplugged and wanted to reconnect. Do you know what I mean?
And I came back going, I'm going to be a travel agent.
Yeah. I'd already made a decision before I was going, and I was so pleased when I got there. I was using getting all my perks, upgrades, all this kind of stuff.
Did you?
Brilliant. I'm going to tell you all about it. It's great. But I did plan to go smartphone free for the entire thing.
How did that work out?
I took a flip phone with me, which was utterly pointless, right? Because aside from the fact I had to upload stuff for the pod, and I was like, that's okay, I'll just kind of put it away until I need it. It became very apparent quite soon on that you need a fucking smartphone for everything these days.
Yeah.
So you get there to the hotel and they're like, all the information can be found online here. And you're like, okay, all right.
Oh, so like QR codes.
That's it. QR codes for menus. If you wanted to, the kids, wanted to watch stuff on the TV. So I needed to access my Netflix account through like all of, and I was just like, it's impossible. It is impossible. I and all my music's on my phone. That's what I suddenly realized. I was like on the beach going, I want to listen to some music. I can't, I want to play it when we're getting ready at night and stuff like that. I couldn't do it. But luckily I'd taken my phone with me.
Yeah. Just in case.
Well, I thought I'd take Instagram
Of course.
off my phone. I'd removed
How did that go?
Okay, well, then I checked online and it said that it would delete
Yeah,
all
it
of my
takes all your drafts away.
drafts, or the folder of procrastination, as I like to call it. That's all the content basically that I've made
Half
and
done.
not posted. And no, I've made it. I've edited it. It's got captions. It's got everything.
Why
And
isn't that? That's the dream to have a bank
overthink a
of.
tea drinker, mate. Overthink a tea drinker. There's some that I actually don't even look the same anymore. I looked the other day and I was
that
like,
old?
No, the kids are like babies. It's like people are going to be like, so why are you posting this now? But I'm going to get it
Just
all out.
get it all out there.
Get it all out. Give less of a shit, like the book you gave me. That is my plan. That is my plan. So anyway, I had to practice restraint. That was what I had to do.
How was that?
It's not my strong suit.
No, me
I'm not going to
neither.
lie. And if you need proof of that, you can just witness me at the hotel buffet. Okay, because it's every time 6 courses.
Yeah.
You can't not, right?
You feel like you're missing out.
100%. What do you go for? How do you
Are we
line it
talking
up?
breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast. The breakfast buffet.
So I'll always start with like some fruit and yogurt.
Yeah, starters you mean to go on. Yeah.
And then I might go for the fry up. So fruit and yogurt's like my starter, and
Yeah.
then I'll go and get my sausages, bacon, some toast, all the rest of it.
Yes.
And then I might have like a little
Something
puddingy
sweet.
pastry.
Yeah, I know.
At the end.
You have a 3-courser, don't you, with a starter,
Yeah.
a main, and then something sweet at the end.
Yeah. And then
Followed
occasionally,
by 2 hours of
once I've had my
self-loathing.
hot,
Yeah.
I might also have a side plate of like continental, because I also like a little bit of
bit
white
cheese.
bread, butter, cheese, and ham.
No, not in the morning.
Yeah.
No, that's the one thing I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't
No, I'll
like
do it
that.
all.
But then I would just have that, and then I'd sit on the beach, and then just once that kind of the self-loathing had started to dissipate, time for lunch.
Yeah, but also you're tanned. So I've always said, if you can't tone it, tan it. And once you're tanned, everything looks great. If you're white and pasty and mottled, it doesn't look as good. But if you slap some tan on, I'll walk around the gym.
No.
I'll be fine. I'll go.
Beg to differ. I beg to
okay.
differ. I just don't have a. Sorry, excuse me.
Sorry, we're interrupting.
Yeah, sorry, someone's calling me. I don't know who it is.
Oh.
They're in Worthing.
Answer it. Go on. Go on. It's
Sorry.
fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Em speaking. Oh, it's the gym. Hi, how you doing?
Where are you? That's what he's saying. Speak.
Okay, hold on. That's really kind of you. Thank you. Well, I saw Lynn. We did an induction.
Good.
She taught me how to use the weights and what weights I needed. And then I went back in about a week later, and I was looking at the program, Alan, and I read it as 40 kg. So then I put 40 kg on both ends of the bell bar, and then I did my back in. So
Oh,
I
gosh.
haven't been back much since.
Oh dear. It might be worth it if you want to next time you do come in is have a word with Vicky, who does a lot of our she's one of the GP referrals. Not that you've been referred by a GP, but she may be able to advise on different exercises to do or what to avoid for the time being until obviously that gets better.
Yeah, I'm on the mend, thanks, Alan. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm a bit better. The actual bar. Somebody told me that's already weighted, so that's another 20 kg on that, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say next time you're in as well, then, or perhaps speak to Lynn, obviously review it to make sure that you're starting at obviously a good starting point, really.
Yeah.
So,
Or maybe just do Zumba.
so what? Sorry.
Maybe just do Zumba.
Oh yeah, do Zumba. Yes. Well, I mean, again, I think it's a good idea to be careful. Sort of build yourself up, because last thing we want is people doing themselves an injury in the gym for obvious reasons. So.
Thank you for caring, Alan.
No. Well, no. Seriously, we don't want people coming in and doing themselves mischievous. So.
I don't want to keep paying you every month and not coming in, to be honest.
No. Wait, I was just going to see when you were last in. When you were last in on the 20th.
Stop trying to shame me.
Sorry.
You're shaming me now.
When was she last in?
Listen, I promise you I'll come back in next week, all right?
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, no,
Hang on. No. When was?
Please ask to speak to if Lynn's in or one of the other instructors. Just
Yeah.
have another look at your program though to make sure that you're being well looked after.
Alan,
Yeah.
That's a good
Alan,
idea.
before
Sorry,
you
I'm
go.
just with a work colleague, Alan. I'm going to have to go
worry,
now.
I'd like to know
Thank
when
you
she
so
was
much,
last
Alan.
in.
Thank you. Bye.
What?
Don't you dare try.
When were you last in, Emma Nicolay?
I'm not talking about it. Not talking about it.
That was brilliant.
Oh, dear
That was
me.
brilliant.
Only because I got envy of your David Lloyd. I honestly,
Where have you joined? Because we've got some sort of GP.
It's a really local, villagey one, but it does have a sauna.
That's all you need. Oh my God, the sauna is my happy place. I fucking love
I know,
the sauna.
but do you know what the thing is though? Then I have to take my makeup off and then put it back on again, don't I? Like if I go in the sauna, I know.
We're not having this
I
conversation.
know. Sorry, I have been healing. Okay, so moving swiftly. Oh, that's nice of Alan, wasn't it?
Wasn't it just?
Nice, yeah.
I like the way you got him off the phone. Quick, shut up.
Thanks for being a good sport and not knowing about it, Alan.
We might need to get a release on that. Just there.
I did go in on the breakfast buffet. I would do anyway. This place was insane. Like, you could have an Indian breakfast buffet, you could have Chinese breakfast, but they had every continent in the breakfast buffet room. Like, it was so vast, this hotel. It was incredible. And I don't have a very healthy relationship with food, and part of that
Who
is...
does?
Well, do you think that's growing up in the 90s? Because I was also made to kind of sit at a table as a child until it was eaten. And generally it was usually fish, and it didn't matter how cold it was. And I remember being there because we lived abroad, and so I'd be out kind of on the balcony and they'd all be sat like in the lounge watching TV, and I'd just be looking at this piece of fucking salmon going, come on, you can do it. I just hated fish so much.
Do you like fish now?
And my parents loved it, so they cooked it all the time. I'm really good actually with fish now. I love it. Yeah, well,
I don't know what it is. I think it's a whole mixture of stuff. I think it's part of that. I think it's just my makeup, like the binge eating.
Yeah.
It's not good. I don't know what it is.
No.
I don't need to know.
No.
The thing is, it's a problem. I don't need to know why it is. I just need to fucking sort it out.
Do you not think you need to know why it is? Do you think that helps? I did have some hypnotherapy on it, and I found it really helpful.
Did you?
Yeah. I
Okay,
did
maybe
find
I'll
it really
call my hypnotherapist.
Anyway, I forgot all of that hypnotherapy and was basically eating every breakfast like
Nice.
it was essentially my last meal on death row. And anyway, that combination and the sun and all the lovely things, and despite being cock-blocked by the kids because we shared a room with them,
Oh, yeah. So you didn't have sex at all?
we didn't have sex at all, which is ironic because I have come back looking like 6 months pregnant after eating so much.
Stop it.
But no, I've managed to lose about half a stone since I've come back, which is good.
Ozempic.
Keto.
Oh, the wagon that she's never actually fucking on.
Can I?
I swear to God, every time you call me,
Yeah.
if you watch her stories, you'd think she's never touched a Streisand in her life. You would think she'd never touched a fucking Streisand in her life. She's always riding the keto wagon. Every time you call me, you're like, I'm off the wagon. I've made sausage rolls. I've eaten them all.
I fell off the wagon.
You can't even see the fucking wagon.
Oh my God, mate. The sausage rolls I made last night, I was like, I'm not going to eat them. I'm just going to make them because I've got this pastry and I've got these sausages that are going out of date. But everyone had gone to bed, and then they came out of the oven and they smelled so good. And I thought, well, because I'd cut them into little ones and a few big ones. And I thought, I'll just have a little one. And then I thought, well, it's only a little one that I had, so that's probably only about like 5 grams of carbs or something like that. So then I'll just have another little.
Carbs
And then it was
rising.
like, it's too fucking late now, isn't it? Fuck it, just eat the whole. So
Yeah.
then I ate like 4 big ones,
Yeah.
and then I cried.
Yeah. So there we go.
Anyway,
No wagon here.
no wagon.
All right. So that was all just fluffing for the big action scene in this podcast.
Oh, I love a fluffer.
This is where we get into hard subjects around our experiences of being women in the 21st century.
Yeah.
This is where we spunk our emotional loads. We tackle sticky subjects and spread ourselves wide open.
Oh my God.
So we're starting with Emma this week.
Oh.
What's been getting your panties in a bunch? Do you like that? I don't really like it, or you think it's ridiculous.
I love it.
Okay, great.
Anything that is overtly sexual, I'm 100% in. A little bit of filth, and
The only comedy I've got.
I'm perfect. So with the
Clever comedy, not my shtick. Balls, pubes, poo comedy, that's me.
As somebody who is so bright and kind of, I would say, quite academic. That
Do you really think that?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
That's wild.
That's
I mean, I am, obviously.
Yeah.
Super academic.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on. Come on,
Sorry,
your
sorry.
bit.
All right, so
I
I don't know how people are going to feel about this. I don't. I think it's going to ruffle a few feathers. I've brought it up with some people. One of my close friends. You're never the only one who thinks that people do too much for their kids. I know you agree with me on this.
Hard agree.
Hard agree. In fact, you're going to
I
tell
don't
me.
always practice it,
No.
but I agree with the concept.
All right. Okay. So let me paint a picture of my upbringing. I think I need to do this, and because I'm not very good at being succinct, I've written it down. So basically, I grew up with parents working full time. So there were various au pairs, nannies, housekeepers who fed and watered me till the age of 8. At which point, the family emigrated to the Canary Islands, and I stayed in the British education system at a boarding school here in the UK. Now, this meant I was travelling back and forth during the school holidays, unaccompanied as a minor on a Boeing 747, sat next to strangers for 4 hours, which seems absolutely ludicrous to me now.
Like, I went to Australia on an exchange
it's mad.
when I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
I flew to Australia as an unaccompanied minor
To a family that they'd never met before.
to another boarding school.
Oh my God, it's mad.
Like,
It's mad, isn't it?
yeah.
It's
Anyway,
crazy.
Sorry.
Anyway, I left the system, the school system, at 17 with very little survival knowledge and cooking skills stretched to tuna mayonnaise and basically some green salad. And I remember my dad saying to me, "No, I've put you in there because, you know, it's going to really help you to be independent." And I remember thinking at 20 years old, I've only just learned you can't slow boil an egg. You can't leave an iron face down, and you can't put tinfoil in the microwave. And that is not a joke. And I was in my 20s at this point, and that's how bad it was. And so what that meant is I became very codependent on boyfriends and their families. And I also convinced myself for so many years, I can't have kids. I can't have kids because I can't look after them, because I can't even look after myself. Do you know what I mean? How was I going to cook for them and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
And then after school, I'd been living with my mum. They divorced my parents, and she was back in the UK, and she was working her tits off, you know, trying to make it work and keep us in private education and stuff like that. And so the kitchen barely got used. We were living on microwave meals for dinner, the good ones, obviously, M&S.
Obs.
But there was no cooking skills happening. She, you know, never really taught me either. And then in my late 20s, after what was a 10-year relationship surviving on basically McDonald's, Frappuccinos and weed, it's not a joke. I met Johnny, and I just basically, I started to go out more. I wasn't sat in just like playing Xbox, getting off my tits. I started to go out and eat, like go to restaurants. And I remember Johnny was like, "Sorry, have you never actually been taken out to a restaurant before?" I was like, "No, I've been to Pizza Express once, but we did a takeaway, you know." And it's like, I just never went out for like 10 years in this relationship.
Okay.
But I was okay about that. I
Yeah.
was just like, okay, well, this is fine, you know, got everything I need.
I love staying in. I find
Now
it-
you do, but when you were younger,
Yeah. I mean, a different thing. But if I never left the house again,
now
I'd be fine.
sounds dreamy.
Dreamy.
Without the weed.
I said to
obviously.
Jimmy the other day, I said, we're so lucky that we get to sort of live a life as if we're a bit retired and still not be retired.
Yeah.
Because we do have jobs where we sort of do our own thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think we often I don't think we're grateful enough for that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think we really practice enough gratitude towards the fact that we live a life which is basically us being semi-retired
Yeah.
and we still earn enough money to live.
Oh, that's so nice.
It's wild
It's
that
really
that's
lovely.
the case. Anywed,
Sorry, got distracted. Anyway, so yeah, I met Johnny, and our relationship kind of blossomed, and then bless his mum and his brother and all of them, they just loved food. They loved to cook, and so I was around, both kind of matriarchal women and other men that love to cook. And I remember the first present she ever bought me, and she was super supportive, and it came from a really good place. She gave me the original Delia Smith
knew you were going to say that.
How to Cook book, and she wrote a lovely little message in it. And listen, I tried lots of things. I've mastered some one pots. I'm still not brilliant, but I just remember that when the kids came along, I was so keen, to be able to provide them and nurture them and look after them and feed them and give them lots of home cooked stuff. I was one of those mums, and I still am.
But that's a reasonable. That's fine. Home cooked.
Because I know there's a lot of like routing out on like social media of like,
Listen, a fish finger sandwich is home cooked.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we need to be like, I
think
bake
I put
my
extra
own
pressure on
bread.
myself, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To like make it so I got the massive Maggi mix and I was batch cooking, but it did give me this confidence. The kids they gave me this confidence in my capabilities, and so I've just kind of was like, okay. And as they were getting older, I was like adamant they are not going to be me. They're not gonna, and we've been here before with me, haven't we? I'm hearing myself repeating things, and I can
They're
see
not going to be.
the smile on your face. But I just really was adamant that they weren't gonna grow up feeling like I had. But I feel, and I feel like I've done a really good job with them, and they are independent. And
I
I
love
feel like,
that you can say that because I
Yeah.
don't think enough mums say, "Fucking nailed this shit."
I'm not being funny, but it's like this.
I know your kids. You've nailed them.
I feel like it's the only thing I'm really proud of that I've
Yeah.
done well.
And
I-
you know what? And
can't
I would
that
say
for
the same
anything
about my kids
Yeah.
as well. I don't honestly fucking know how it happened. And part of me is reluctant to take credit, but nobody else was there. Do you know what I mean?
else. Yeah.
They're great kids, so I
Yeah.
can't have been as bad as I thought I was,
No,
basically.
Exactly. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear you say that as well. But I do think, however, as a society, that children are becoming less independent. And I think that with that, in turn, less resilient, I think it's fair to say. And I think due to factors like helicopter parenting and a lack of free play, because we're all terrified that the minute they step out of the house, they're going to get snatched by a paedophile or hit by a bus or something like that. And the research is showing that with that, they're becoming more entitled. And
Yes.
it blows my mind how many people don't encourage their children to kind of help around the house. And there's just a balance lacking. This is my opinion only. It might not be yours. But I'm not saying, and I don't know why it's another Dick Van Dyke like kind of reference
You and
here.
Dick Van Dyke.
I know, I'm obsessed. Please survive forever. I'm not saying we need to send them back up chimneys or down to mines.
You're going to need some serious support, aren't you, when he
Honestly,
passes?
you have no idea. I feel like he's my dad. That's how I feel. I love Dick Van Dyke.
We're going to need a special memorial episode, aren't we? When Dick
Can
Van
you not
Dyke
talk
passes?
about it?
All
then?
right.
Sorry.
I'm not bringing him up then.
A lot of people feel the same about Richard Attenborough. I'm just saying, okay?
I get that.
Anyway, look, I'm not saying that we need to send them back down to mines to earn their keep. Was that a good northern accent?
It's not bad.
Thank you. But I do think that getting them to help is going to give them a better understanding and empathy for what we do as parents as well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I also think we need to recognise that kids did go, like, I'm not saying that they should go down the mines, but kids did go down the mines. They did work from a young age. They are capable of a lot more than we expect of them. And I'm
Right.
not saying that we should be sending them out to work,
no.
but asking them to put their own fucking clean laundry away, I think is a
Absolutely.
very reasonable request
Yeah.
for a kid who is 5 years and older.
I mean, in our house, like the amount of people that come around with kids, or we go around to people's houses and they're so surprised that my kids will leave the table. That I grew up with never leave the table empty-handed. That was something that had been passed down from my grandmother to my dad, and that was something that was implemented in our household. And my kids do it, but the amount of people go, "Oh my God, your kids are so good."
So we have the same thing. So
Yeah.
we have a thing where it's take care of your responsibilities.
Right.
So after dinner, the kids always clear the table. And it's been a recent thing that we've upgraded it from them cleaning their own plates away to them being responsible every time we sit down for clearing and cleaning the whole table.
Yes.
They don't have to do the washing up because they can't load a dishwasher for shit because they just don't, their lizard brain isn't ready for that yet. I get that.
Okay.
Like, I swear to God, I've tried. They're both like me. They're
Right.
chaotic and ADHD and they can't figure it out.
Okay.
But they can clear the table and they can wipe it down and they can put it back so that it's reset for the next day. And that is that. And we say you take care of your responsibilities.
Yeah,
And they know exactly what that means. And we have the same thing when friends come over for dinner. Even if we're having friends over for dinner and there's 12 people at the table, it's still the girl's responsibility to do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's what they do.
Yeah. It's what they do and they can do.
Yeah.
So why not? And actually, mine is saying they're shit at packing the dishwasher. But I'm at the stage now where actually, yeah, you can. And then I'll be like, okay, so you do everything that's on the, like I couldn't trust barley with a glass or a mug. But I'm like, well, you can do the stuff that you can.
Well, and I think actually, as I said that, I think Billy is now old enough. She's 11 and I think she can now get her head around it and do it in a way that's sensible. She is not particularly teachable. She has a touch of the Jimmys in her and that. Like, she is very much, I know, like,
right.
And I'm like, just
can't be told.
Yeah, hates to be. And I'm like, you need to be a little bit more teachable.
Yeah.
Like, you're 11. I'm doing this for your own good.
Yeah.
Like, let's learn how to do a fucking dishwasher.
Yeah.
And she will come round, but her instinct is, no, I know what I'm doing. So I think
But even if I have to redo it, even if they do it, like the Christmas tree, do you know what I mean? If they let them do it and then you could redo it yourself after, but at least they're doing something.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think as well, you don't have to go in at the top level. You're not going in with them doing everything.
No.
You build up slowly,
Yeah.
right? So you start them on little things. So I think it's now time for me to graduate Billy to filling the dishwasher. That's something I'm going to do tonight when we go home.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's that simple.
And then, I mean, I don't know about you, but like pocket money, for example, it was really rare in our house. Like when I grew up, I don't remember getting it. It wasn't a regular thing. It'd be like maybe, and we still had to do chores. Like we'd occasionally get a reward for something, but generally, like it'd be like, we would be kept busy. Like rather than us sitting and watching MTV, because that's the only channel we had over in Tenerife, like we could watch. But like it would be like go and clean that massive copper urn that it never gets used and just goes back on the top of that shelf until it needs to be cleaned again. Do you know what I mean? Or
so we have in our house
stuff like that.
a thing. We have chores and responsibilities. And your responsibilities are things you do not get any pocket money for.
Yeah.
They are things like making your bed, cleaning your room, putting your laundry away. They are like the basic expectations of a functioning human being in the microcosm of our world.
Yeah.
That's what they you don't get paid for those. They are expectations. If they don't happen, there are consequences.
Yeah.
They are hard boundaries. They need to get done. Otherwise, none of the good shit happens.
Okay.
And then there are chores. And chores are the jobs that are like more general that if they didn't do, I would have to do.
Yeah.
They get like rewards for that. So basically what we do is they've got these jars, magnetic,
seen those.
these
They're
magnetic
great.
jars with little things that they can slip in them.
Yeah.
Once they fill a jar, they get a $5. So that, and those reward things are like house points at school.
Yeah.
'Cause they used to do that thing where they go, well, if I do that, can I get a reward? And I'd be like, no. If Miss Sabsavari asked you to put some books away and you went, well, I only do it if I get a house point.
Yeah.
She would.
How do you think that go down?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is how we're approaching it. And so if they do chores, we've got a list of chores that they can do, which things like emptying all the bins, watering all the plants, picking up the dog poo from the garden, putting somebody else's clean laundry away, tidying up a communal room.
Yeah.
You know, all of those things. If they do any of those things, they get a little reward.
Right.
And then we can also hand them out for other things. If they say something particularly kind or, whatever, we can go, put yourself a little star in your jar for that.
I was going to say, you're very trusting leaving the stars next to the jar because my
There's
kids...
no way my kids would try and go.
Really?
No way.
Oh, bodies.
Also, I have like a weird memory for those things. I know exactly how many stars are in there at any one time.
That's crazy.
So a bit Rain Man about it. But essentially, it means that it's in their control. So when they go, can I have a boba tea? And I'm like, well, do you have any money?
Yeah.
They'll be like, no. And I'll be like, okay. Well, you haven't told us to do any chores. I'm like, I don't tell you.
No.
These are chores that I'll do. If you do them, I don't have to. That's great. You get a reward for it. But I'm not going to sit there and beg you to do chores.
Yeah.
Like, this is you. If you want to earn your pocket money,
Right.
the chance, the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting into fights anymore about it. You know what they are. You know how to do it. You could spend a morning on Sunday filling up your jar
Yeah.
and get yourself a $5 like that.
Yeah.
That's on you.
That's
I'm
what
happy
I'm
to pay
saying. You all that and like initiative. It's just, I just think it's not setting them out by doing everything for them. And I get it. Look, I am firmly in the kind of like, do it yourself camp, but I also understand what it's like. I can see the other side of the coin where, people like my friend, when I said it to her, she went, but it's messier. It takes longer. It actually causes me
And I get
more
that.
work.
I
So
do get
as well.
that desire that to just choose the path of least resistance.
But when I was changing my bed sheets, I mean, changing my duvet cover at 8 years old.
yeah, so was I.
Do you know what I mean? And it's
But then there's
yeah.
part of me, because of the boarding school thing, there is part of me that's like, and I have to wrangle with this a lot. It's like, should I have been changing my own bed at 11 on my own in boarding school? So there is part of me that's then, I want to protect my kids from that a little bit. Also,
But
changing a bed.
It's not that. It's shit. I know nobody wants to do it, but it's not that. It's just that it's about. I know where the capability levels lie.
No, I get it.
Based on that, and I don't. And I'm saying this because I think I've got friends that haven't had the upbringing that I've had and experience had to go through that trauma as well. So I'm just saying, you know what? It's you could be doing them a disservice.
I agree.
By it's not mollycoddling. I don't think it is, and it's like some people do get that enjoyment of making their kids bed in the morning. Do you know what I get enjoyment out of? Staying in bed an extra half an hour because my child is 9 years old, is downstairs making a full packed lunch sandwich, tidying it up and putting it away because I'll lose my shit if she doesn't, and then making sure her bed is made and ready to go to school. I don't have
She's
to
a functioning
put your shoes on shit. I don't have
human.
that. Yeah.
That is all we're asking.
Yeah.
And I do think you're right. I think that we are too scared of challenging the kids. And I do think it makes them less resilient. And funnily enough, Jimmy and I were having a talk about national service the other day. And I was like, I'm for it.
Really?
Because I have friends, because I did a lot of work in Switzerland. I've got a lot of Swiss friends and they have national service.
Yeah.
And I think what people don't necessarily understand is that it's not necessarily putting people in the army and sending them to the front line.
Right.
I have friends who worked in the ambulance service for 2 years. I have friends who worked in the paramedics call centre for 2 years. I have friends who worked in the council for 2 years. It wasn't just the army. It was like across the board jobs that helped the fabric of society. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with essentially putting 16-year-olds for 2 years in work that helps benefit society as a whole.
Yeah.
I don't get it. If we were sending them to the front line, I get it. That's a slightly different thing, but that's not what we're doing. And I do think that if you give these kids some structure and some responsibility and show them what it's like to work as part of the society and all the rest of it, I can't see that being anything except a good thing. And imagine the influx of support we get in all those departments, whether it's NHS hospitals, whether it's councils, whether it's whatever it is, where suddenly we've got this whole workforce that can do some of this donkey work that skilled people's, their time gets taken up doing. But you can have somebody answering the phones, doing something. Do you know what I mean? I just think we could rebrand national service in a way that could be really fucking beneficial to everybody.
I love it.
See?
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I do. Just as long as we don't go to war. Because then
If you go to war, it becomes like a sticky situation.
Exactly.
It does. But then if we go to war, then everybody's fucked,
maybe
basically.
the kids could go, well, yeah, actually, I don't mind going. Or
Yeah,
there could be
exactly.
ones that
And
could,
I think you could get a system where some
opt
people are
in
like,
and opt out.
some kids want to go into the military.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a great opportunity to get them
Yeah.
in there and started. Some kids might not want to do that, but there are a million other things that they could do within the civil service or whatever. And I don't know. I just think,
No, there's something in there.
I think that would be really
Do you
fucking
agree?
great.
I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that. Actually, if you're listening
We should
right
do.
now, and
Maybe
you're
I'm not.
shouting
Maybe I'm
at
going
us.
to do that for. I'm going to do that for episode 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do
Okay.
it for the last.
Well,
episode.
look, don't worry if you're thinking. I don't think I'm quite ready to think about the military for my 8-year-old. What I will say to you is there has been research that shows that children who do chores are more likely to be happier adults because it benefits them in developing executive functions like planning, regulating themselves, maintaining attention, switching between tasks, and also higher self-esteem, self-confidence, and a better ability to deal with frustration. Mic drop. That is all the information you should need.
I love that.
Give it a go. What's the worst that can happen?
And also, it's worth putting that fight in at first. Yes. Like I said to Jimmy today, I said, sometimes I think routine-wise, we can be very guilty of slipping out of routine, and then everybody gets in a fluster.
Yeah.
And I was like, we really just need to go through 2 or 3 weeks of just pain, and then it takes care of itself.
Yeah.
So that's where we are now, especially with the morning routine. Anyway, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Love you.
I'm really excited and kind of intrigued about your topic.
So my topic was inspired by a friend of mine, but mine is, you're never the only one who's been bullied by another mum. Now,
Okay.
I've wanted to tackle this subject for a little while now because a couple of friends of mine have been through similar experiences, and it broke my heart and blew my mind in equal measure. I think when you have kids, you sort of assume, or when you're a grown up, you assume that the days of being bullied in the school playground are over, but this is not so. Now, navigating the school gates and the politics and the friendships, yours and your kids'
Yep.
friendships, the PTA and all the rest of it can be really tricky. And I don't think we're fully prepared for that when we go into that situation. I think when we especially start the school thing, we're so focused naturally on how they're getting on, how they're feeling, what friends they're making and stuff, that we sort of forget that we're entering into a new phase of it ourselves.
So true.
And I don't think we consider what could lie in store, because even though we're really nice people,
Yeah.
some people aren't.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. And it's anyway, I'm socially resistant. Like I'm not great. I don't like making new friends. I'm very lucky that the people that I am friends with, they come into my life and I know that they need to be there. You know, like you, for example. Right, but from the first moment we met and got pissed in King's Cross back in the day, I was like, we went outside, we were having a fag, and we were talking about your time at heart and this, that, and the other. And I was like, this is a girl who's in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I knew.
We're still going to make that. We're still going to make that program about trolls.
And so that's the only time. It's the only time I'm going to let a new friend in, when I get that feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm really generally not expecting it anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go to the school gates and assume that I'm going to make loads of friends simply because we all gave birth at the same time. That isn't for me. So for me, I think I was lucky to be sort of basically a bit aloof about the whole thing. But essentially that meant that I didn't really get into any sticky school mum situationships.
Situationships, I like that.
But that's what it is, isn't it? And my kids are in year 6. My eldest is in year 6. I think I've probably got a handful, maybe 2 or 3 that I genuinely love. And then everybody else is great. There's nobody I go, I hate you. We have conversations. I say hi. But in terms of somebody said friends, 2 or 3.
Right.
And I think that's quite good, actually.
Yeah. Quite strong.
It's quite strong. So, but that isn't the experience that everybody I know had. And there are 3 hot circumstances that I think are ripe for women to fall into these really negative, toxic relationships within the school playground. And one of them is the PTA. I think that's your top. You're going to get bullied at some point. If you're a decent person in the PTA, I do think you're going to find that that's a really tricky situation.
When you're a member of the
PTA.
and are you going to get bullied by people?
I think there's only
the
2
PTA?
kinds of people that join the PTA. There's the nice, genuinely kind mum who just wants to be involved in their kid's life and give something back and have a nice time. And then there's like the mean girl.
Yeah.
Who just wants to be Billy Big Boots and take all the credit for the fucking summer fair.
Right.
And I don't think there's any in between.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, write in. I may talk about it. I may not. It's my podcast, not yours. But I think that there's only 2 types of it. So I think if you're in the PTA, you're setting yourself up for a nasty situationship. The next thing I think is going to be a problem is if you're in a small town. I think if you're in a small town or a small village, far more likely to get into a tricky situation because everybody knows that, like, gossip is rampant. I think it's very hard to avoid. And the third thing is if you are the kind of parent, and I have been this parent and I've learnt my lesson, who gets involved in their kids' friendships.
Okay.
And I think those are the 3 things.
Hello. Literally have been going through this. God, oh God. Yeah.
Well, I just don't think you should get involved. Like, for me, if
Yeah.
Billy comes home and says, I've fallen out with so-and-so,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what happened?
Yeah.
So she tells me her side of the story. And then I'll be like, okay, so if you're so-and-so and you're telling, and her mummy says to her what happened,
Yeah.
what do you think her side of the story is going to be?
Yeah.
And then they always get a bit sheepish. And they're like, oh, nothing. She'd tell it exactly like I told her. I was like, I don't know that's true. So I'm already like, what's your part in it? And then when we figure that out, I'm like, maybe you should go and apologise to her tomorrow. And then we talk about whether the expectation is that, like, what happens if she doesn't apologise back? How are you going to react? What happens if she does? Okay, so we know that. We set that
So
up.
when you're talking about involved, you mean as in like kind of giving advice and suggesting what to do?
I will help my child navigate it, but
Yeah.
I will not navigate it for her.
What? Okay,
So she goes in, and then if it still doesn't work out, I'm like, you need to talk to the teacher. I'm
Okay.
still not getting him.
So who are the people that get involved? What they talk? They go
Well,
to
they
the
go
other
to the
parents.
parents.
Oh, okay,
They
right.
go to the other parents.
Oh, I see.
Or they go to, whatever, or they go straight into the. I think only if I feel like it's getting out of control,
Yeah.
I will then go to the teacher and say, this is happening.
Okay.
Can you just keep an eye out for it, whatever. If I know the parent really well, I might drop a message that says something like, I'm really sorry to hear that Billy and so-and-so are having a rough time. She's a great girl, whatever. Like, I hope they
Okay.
work it out soon.
Yeah.
I do not get involved. It
Yeah.
does not end well. It's not my responsibility.
Okay.
Like, it would have to be a very serious situation where the school had failed to do anything.
Right.
The other parent was where I'd be like, okay, now we're going to have to step in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are my 3 things. That's
Okay.
just my opinion.
Okay.
So I did have an email, and she sent an email and she explained the situation. So here she goes. She says, my story isn't funny, unfortunately, but it did have a huge impact on my life and contribute to a very severe nervous breakdown, ADHD burnout episode that I had over the summer. It was impactful on my mental health. It derailed my career, and ultimately I moved to a different county just to get away.
What?
My kids and I unexpectedly moved to England from the States when they were 2 and 3 respectively, and we ended up in Cotswold Market Town, population 4,000. There you go. That's hotspot number 2. As that was where my parents lived, it resulted in a tumultuous and acrimonious divorce between her and her husband, and she was active in her alcoholism at the time. She's a friend of mine. Suffice to say, I needed help with my kids, and I met this wonderful couple who ran one of the local nurseries. They helped with my son's autism. They helped when I was too hungover to show up, and above all, they never judged me and just loved us through it. And as a result, my daughter and their granddaughter became best friends. Cut to year 4, the 2 girls' relationship has changed, and over time, the granddaughter was becoming increasingly handsy and aggressive with my kid, always taking things out of her hands, running to take the seat she wanted, pushing her off swings, leaving her out, etc. That like low-level, constant,
Yeah.
it's miserable. Throughout the year, I'd get calls from birthday parties from the parents asking me if my daughter consented to this behaviour, if that's just how they played. One morning, my partner dropped my daughter off at school, and this kid came over and goes, "Hey, Chris, this is what I do when I want Bert to shut up," and play slapped her across the face. I was fuming when I heard it, and it was the last straw. Given that I had 6 or so years of friendship with this family, I didn't think twice about dealing with it. I knew 5 other parents who'd already complained to the teacher, but that's not my style. See, we just differ on this, right? She was like, I'm going to go to the parents. And I get that train of thought as well.
Well, they already had a relationship outside of the.
And I do
relationship.
get it. My experience has shown me that doesn't work out well.
Okay.
But I think it's just give it to the teacher, because
Right.
it's like she's a mediator then.
Yeah.
Whereas there's too much emotion involved, right?
Yeah.
I'm always going to defend my kid.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so she thought she went to speak to them. She called the mum, had a chat. She cried, I cried. It was extraordinarily uncomfortable, but I felt that I'd handled it in a kind and direct way and didn't really think twice about it. Within a week or 2, I noticed that mums on the playground weren't talking to me. Then I noticed that mums in town weren't talking to me. And then I noticed my daughter was no longer getting invited anywhere. Her entire group of friends would be invited and she'd be the only one left out. It escalated and was really aggressive in its silence. Eventually the grandparents who'd been so kind and loving, began icing me too, and would quite literally growl at me. Luckily, my daughter wasn't impacted in school, but she certainly noticed that she was getting left out. As I said, simultaneously, I was starting to break down, having feelings of worthlessness and various physical symptoms of burnout. So in my mind, this was massive. It felt really claustrophobic in my town, and like everyone, quite overtly hated me. As this family had lived in the town for generations, the hate was far-reaching and I was the outsider. I felt like I couldn't go anywhere, and it felt like this could follow my daughter for a whole school career. I ended up in deep depression, having suicidal ideations under care of various doctors. To me, the worst part is that the mum and the grandparents were all childcare professionals. The mum is a Senko in the local school. It was their job to protect children. But as I wasn't a child, it didn't matter. It also highlighted, in my opinion, how much of bully behaviour is learned from environment, like grandparents to parents. It's learned behaviour. And then, another listener said it's not really bullying, but judgment. A couple of years ago, I went to a baby yoga class chatting to another mum. She asked where I lived. When I told her, she replied, "Oh," and then turned her back on me. She lived in a nice area of Bristol, but not the very affluent Clifton area. And apparently that was a big thing. And I think it's really easy. I know. And then I think I've got
Cunty women around. So awful.
many cunty women.
Oh my God.
And there is one more that I'm going to just open up because I know that she wrote it especially. This is about PTA. She's got PTASD.
Did you make
It's
that
not
up?
my joke. It's the Scummy Mummy's joke. It's so good. I'm crediting it. Ellie Gibson, it's your joke. Okay, so she says, I had to leave the PTA when I noticed I was fighting back the tears at a school event after a series of passive-aggressive and actually downright aggressive interactions with the group leader. I felt so sad to be leaving. I loved serving the school community and seeing the joy on kids' faces, which made all the hard work worth it, but I couldn't stand another second of it and have zero regrets about leaving. I did get an apology both on the night and when I left, and the chair leader left soon after. They realised when we talked it over that they'd not behaved very well and decided they needed to do something about it and step away from a situation they're becoming resentful of. We're fine if we see each other. We'll happily say hello. So not the worst possible result, maybe even some good adulting. So that's it. But I was interested because I think it's really hard to discuss bullying when you're an adult because it feels like such a you feel like it can be such a playground thing. And you feel like you're being silly, and you should be old enough and ugly enough to figure out this stuff. Do you know what I mean? But I think the impact of being bullied by another woman, specifically within the playground environment, because it's really hard when your kids are involved in the mix as well, can be really devastating. Because where do you go? There's no teacher that can mediate for you.
Yeah.
You know, the girl we're talking about didn't have a partner at the time. So she was on her own with it. Like, it must be. Have you ever felt bullied or?
Well, I had that situation. I don't know if you're listening since episode 1, you remember I mentioned about something had been said, and I didn't name anyone, but I spoke about the situation on my social media. And, you know, I didn't go into detail, but, you know, I talk about stuff that's going on in the family. I was just talking about how it made me really angry, and I just wanted to kind of go to the parents. But I didn't. I wouldn't do it. But it's like, you know, I thought it'll work itself out, which it did. But I got contacted by a mum who I, you know, thought was a friend, or a new friend through school. And it's icky.
Still icky.
Yeah, like now just like blanking one another. I think it's got to that point where it's just a bit, but there's also an element of that where I immediately was like, oh God, I'm in the wrong, it's terrible. And it was only when I read the message that she had sent to me, to Johnny, when he was like, she can't say that about Molly, she can't say like that, that's below the belt. And actually I was like, why am I so desperate for this friendship? I've got the people in my life that count. I don't need any new mates, and I don't need to be friends with my daughter's friends' mums or whoever. You know, it's actually it's not necessary, and it's again stripping it back to that young girl that's just like, I don't want to be, you know, I just want friends. You know, I want to be liked, and I kind of had to really. But it was a real growth actually.
Yeah, and I remember it wasn't school; the kids were younger, but I do remember having like a playgroup mate with a woman who had a kid similar to Billy, and I remember her saying something to me in the park that felt judgmental.
Yeah.
And I remember writing a blog about it. And then she came to my house and was like, I've read your blog. And I've read what you've written. And I thought...
Is your stomach not just... You know when you just like...
Yeah.
Because you immediately are like...
Well, I didn't name any names.
No,
like,
exactly.
Of course I didn't. But... And to this day, I struggle with like, should I have written it? Should I not have written it? Because it's really hard, isn't it? It's like if you have some sort of outlet, to whether it's stories or you're a writer, which is what I was doing, you know, of course that's the stuff I'm going to write about.
Yeah.
Like, and how far do I hold back? I always keep it anonymous.
Yeah.
Like, that's my boundary, obviously. But does that mean I can't write about my own experience without somebody getting mad about it, or share it on socials anonymously without somebody? It's really hard line to get. But the bullying thing, I think, you know, I've heard this story a few times, and I love that last message about the PTA, because I feel like the woman owned her part in it and recognised that she'd behaved badly.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No.
We all behave badly.
Yeah.
It's how you deal with that counts. You know, it's like, can you own it? Can you make it better?
Yeah.
We all have good people do bad things, right?
Yes.
And as a kid, there were times when I was not very nice to girls.
Yeah.
at boarding school because I was not in a good place. It's
But the
true what
funny
they
thing
say,
is
hurt
you-
people hurt people.
Hurt people, but at the time you don't see yourself as that person. Then you later on, when someone points it out, the bully never knows they're the bully.
No, I think I knew. And I
Oh,
think
really?
people do know.
Oh,
No, I think you do know. I think you do know. If you've got a conscience, you know that what you're doing isn't nice.
yeah. It feels justified, I imagine, though.
It,
You know,
it felt like survival.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's
As
what it
an
felt
adult,
like.
You can see it like that. but-
Totally. Like as a kid, it was confusing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be doing it, and it wasn't extensive. But as I look back on it now, I know why I did it. It was survival. I didn't want to be the one that was picked on.
Right.
Like I'd seen that. I'd been that. I did not want to do that again. And so for me, that was my option. It wasn't a choice I'm proud of.
Yeah.
But as an adult, it blows my mind that people can continue to behave like that. Like that really does. Like I know why as a teenager, I'm not proud of it, but I can see where that came from. I was a teenager.
But adults.
But as an adult,
Or do you want to know the answer?
tell me.
Cunty women.
There you go. That's it. I mean, it is. I mean, when it comes down to it, you're making a choice to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And that's it. And
Yeah.
I get it. There's a reason.
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
hurt.
yeah.
You feel insecure.
I know,
Maybe
you try
other
and
people
be,
are being
like,
awful. I get it.
Benevolent about it, but it comes.
But there's no reason. You don't need to do it.
Yeah.
It's like there's an explanation, but there's not an excuse.
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah.
Sort your shit out.
Do
Stop
it.
being a cunt. I've got a bit of a stutter today. So anyway, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on what did you talk about?
What, just now?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Fucking great episode.
It's my brain. I'm telling you, can't wait. HRT, I'll never forget anything
We'll
again.
see, because now when you start taking it, if you forget anything, I'm going to be like, oh, it's actually just your brain.
Oh, then it will be amnesia.
People doing too much for their kids. People
Yes.
doing too much for their kids.
So if you've got anything to say about doing too much for their kids,
You don't have to agree. Absolutely
No,
don't
please
have to
don't
agree.
agree. I
We'll
mean,
still like you.
But if you disagree with like kindly. Do you know what I mean?
I love it. So we're allowed to be on here and just be like,
It's our podcast. No, but we're not talking about anybody in particular.
No.
But if I didn't agree with you, I wouldn't go, you're a fucking twat.
No. But, if
You
you do want to
fucking
say that, I don't mind. Just,
Thick as a slice of
because you're
bread.
still adding to the listenership and
Well, there is that.
the downloads.
Very
and-
clickbaity.
Yeah.
It's great for a clickbait clip. But, just say, oh, I love you, but that I don't agree with that. Great. Love that.
Yeah.
You can email us at you'renevertheonlyone@gmail.com, YOURE, or WhatsApp us a voice note or message on 074 57402 704. All the info's in the show notes, and it should have come up here on the screen as well. Save the number as You're Never the Only One, and make sure you drop us a voice note. Over to you.
Embarrassing sex stories. I have a couple from the same person.
Stop.
I do. Okay.
Not from the same person who
What?
came so hard she shat herself.
Still the best thing I've ever heard.
Grubby boob. Listen,
Oh.
that goes down as one of my top 5 life moments.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And I honestly, I'd like to do another whole episode just on that.
Okay.
But this will have to do for now. Are you ready? It's a bit of a long one, but it's worth it, I think. Oh, I thought it came out that end, but it comes out this end.
Hello. So I've got a couple of sex stories, and one of them, it's quite a long story, but I'm going to try and be quick. So, yeah, I was always quite young in my career, but quite senior. And at one point, I was a compliance director at HSBC, and I travelled to Argentina to do some review to Buenos Aires, and the global head of HR came with me, and she
And she what?
Oh.
She was kind of like an older lady, very well-to-do. And so the Buenos Aires bit was fine, but I was going to Mendoza for the weekend for wine tasting on my own. And she asked to come. And a little did
I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Jesus.
Sorry.
I know that this would have any impact. But before I left, I packed a vibrator because me and my boyfriend had been together for like a month. He's now my husband. And of course, we couldn't go like any amount of time without any video dirty sex. So he bought me a vibrator before I left. Anyway, she asked to come to Mendoza, and she even asked to share my Airbnb, which was a bit weird. But anyway, that's what we did. And I'm at the airport, Buenos Aires, flying to Mendoza, and all of a sudden my name comes over the tannoy. I'm like, what's this about? So I go over, they put like is it a hyper-vis vest on me? We go across the tarmac, me and this one guy, and we get there and he takes me to my bag and my bag's vibrating. And they're like, oh, it must be a toothbrush. No, the language is not that clear. They're like, oh, it must be a toothbrush. And I'm thinking, fuck, I know exactly what it is. So anyway, I put my hand in the bag, managed to turn it off. And they're like, you got to show us what it is. So they're all in like stitches now. And then obviously I put it out and they're like having this massive laugh. And I'm with Hillary, the global head of HR of HSBC. But she still doesn't know yet because she's in the airport. So I go back in, make up some excuse about my like toothbrush going off in my bag. And then as I'm getting on the plane, it's one of those planes where you like had to use the steps outside the plane. So I go to get on. And there's the guys who have seen me with the vibrator stood literally 2 meters away going, oi, Brit baby, as in like British. And they're like going, like shaking like vibrators, all 5 of them. I could have died. Anyway, I kept it to myself still. I was just like, oh, they're still laughing about the toothbrush. And then on the wine tasting, we got hammered and I told her everything. It was hilarious, but yeah, not the most professional moment for me.
Oh my God, that's joyful. I love that.
So good. And she followed up with a message going, oh, I also once messaged my dad. I do love it up the arse. he was in my phone book as Dad, and my boyfriend was called Dan. I deleted it. I deleted it immediately and thought I'd been successful until a few weeks later when my godmother chucked a pillow under my bum as I went to sit down and said, I hear you might be needing this. I died.
I do love it up the arse.
Oh, do you
That's
know
so funny.
Imagine sending that to your dad. Oh, so good.
That's brilliant. I do love it up the arse. Okay, so I've got a few things. First of all, do you remember TJ came and talked money?
Yes,
He
Teach.
sent me his budget spreadsheet.
Oh, my God.
We'll put it in the show notes. I don't know whether I can put it directly in the show notes, but the instructions will be there. So if you need a budget,
Thanks, TJ.
we were talking about this.
Yes.
Right
I
up your
need that.
street. You
Yeah.
do. We had a voice note from Yvette about, do you remember we talked about baby brain?
Yeah.
This was her little story.
I love this.
Hi, Kat and Emma. I've just listened to your episode 5 about baby brain, and I have a story relating to when I had my newborn son. He's my second child. I had my daughter just turned 4. Cycling in front of me. It's August 2017. We're going down a pathway. She's got her stabilizers on her bike. She's in front of me. I've got my new 2-week-old baby son in, I've got him in the Quinny buggy, but like the bassinet where they sort of lie down. I think that's what it's called. Because he was too small for the actual buggy bit, and they don't recommend you having them too long in the car seat attachment. So I was like, right, well, I'll lay him down in that. It's really hot summer, and to stop all the bugs getting in, there's this sort of mosquito net attachment that I'd zipped on to the bassinet where he was lying. He was asleep. I had a drink holder with a can of Coke, which is an essential for a new mum, caffeine, and I had my baby bag, which was really heavy, clipped onto the handles as well, because I had special loops on there. I thought I was #winning, and as you said, it's always when you think you are winning that it bites you in the butt. So my daughter's in front. She, I don't know how, manages to fall over sideways on her bike with stabilise on it. So I run to her. She's crying. I run to her. Because the baby bag and my drink was so heavy, the unattended buggy flips up. So my baby son is like,
Please, no.
I don't know, like a vampire that's just been like lifted up from a coffin, when you see that. Oh God. Anyway, there was nothing strapping him in. He was just laying down with a blanket over him. and I think I'd put these like bumpers either side of him to kind of stop him wobbling around, but he wasn't actually strapped in. So I ran to my daughter. I'm checking she's okay. She's slightly in front, and then I noticed that the buggy has tipped upright, so my son is almost like standing vertically, and the only thing that stopped him coming out was the fact that I had this mosquito net. So he's like upright with his face against this mosquito netting.
Those kids.
The imagery is enough.
You know, it's like you're on a trampoline and they're like that. This little baby, like,
Covered in coke.
yeah. How many? We've all done it though.
Oh my
We've all done
God.
it where you've overloaded the buggy
Yeah.
and you happen to run away for some reason
Oh,
and it's straight
bonk.
up.
I know.
Every time.
Oh, dear.
Okay, very quickly because I'm
Yes.
conscious of time. We've still got to do
Yeah,
the
yeah.
old download. I'm going to have to save some for things, but what somebody said, Christmas Prezi chat. This is a doozy from
Yeah.
Sophie. Christmas presents made me chuckle. I had a rubbish present once, but it was for my birthday. My daughter was only 15 months, and it was the first birthday after my mum had died. I wasn't very well, and I was suffering with low moods too, and hormones all over the place. My husband bought me some good presents, but there was one that didn't impress me. He bought me tablets to help with my mood and increase my libido. To say I was upset. Sorry, to say I was upset and hurt was an understatement. I'm not one for confrontation. Never felt I could say anything. So he handed. You see, this bit gets a bit weird here. So he handed me the tablets himself a couple of mornings. Take the fucking tablets.
Oh my God.
And I started to tell him I'd already taken them. It's like one flew over the cuckoo's. You're hiding them under your tongue and then spitting them out. He's like, Nurse, she's married to Nurse Ratchet. I'd take them from the bottle and throw them away, eventually telling him they just don't work. I always felt he bought them for his gain. You think?
Oh.
Rather than mine. Never understood the time it takes to recover from birth and feel like yourself. I mean, I get it.
Oh.
Honestly, like, what is wrong with some men?
Oh my God. Some men.
Some men.
Not you.
Not my
Tang.
man.
Tang, can you get off your phone, please?
Before we go, I have to say, do you know how many people got in touch about
What?
the belly button vagina connection?
Oh, right. Go on.
So many people.
Really?
So many people are like, I thought I was the only one. Like, literally everybody. I've got one voice note. Do I have time to do it?
Yes.
Am I going to be in trouble?
No.
Are you going to charge us extra, Tank? Sure. Here we go. So she said.
Oh, I also realized I have come up.
Sorry.
Hello, I
Oh, no.
See, mine was doing that as well.
Okay.
love to say firstly that I absolutely love the podcast, but I literally had to stop the Christmas Day podcast as soon as you guys started talking about this because yeah, you're not the only one who, when you stick your finger in your belly button, you get a weird feeling in your vagina, because I've always had this, and was literally asking my husband recently. I was like, does this happen to you? And he looked at me like I had two heads. So yeah, you're not the only one, and I'm glad that I'm not the only one. But yeah, love the podcast, and can't wait to listen to it for a long time to come.
Oh, do you know what? It's even more joyful hearing someone else say it out loud.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Being on the receiving end. But can I also just say, thank you so much for the love that you guys are showing to this. It's I mean, you posted something yesterday on our socials. It blows my mind. Like, the people take the time
I know.
to write stuff that
Long
they do.
messages.
Really lovely messages. So thank you so much. It's absolutely made our year.
It is. Now listen, before we get in trouble, next week's topics.
Yeah.
So I am going for You're Never the Only One Whose Husband Refuses to Get a Vasectomy.
Oh, and I'm going for You're Never the Only One Who Has a Sex Cycle.
That's not a dildo on a bike.
No, but we could, we can use it as clickbait.
Interpret it
Yeah.
how you like.
There you go.
Maybe it will go. What?
Nothing.
Was there just a glitch in the matrix? What just happened? Did you see a black cat? Twice.
Nothing. 11.
Deja vu.
Huh?
What? Okay, on that note, I think it's probably time for us to sign off. Remember, if you've got anything that you want to say about anything we've talked about today, or if you've just got a funny story like how your tummy button connects to your vagina, or how you mistook the midwife for a plumber, send it in. Get in touch. You're never the only one at gmail.com. That's YOURE. I keep saying it. I hate myself for it, but it has to be done. Or WhatsApp us on 07457 402 704. Until next week, goodbye.
I say and do aren't always what I mean. I'm neither saint nor sinner, I'm somewhere in between. This world is complicated, everything moves so quick. You're lying to yourself if you think that you got it lit. Everybody knows you're never the only one. You're never the only one. Don't live inside your shame, 'cause everybody makes mistakes. Oh. Don't judge me, I'm a weakness. Don't judge me on my floor. 'Cause no one's really perfect by the grace of God goes so. Everybody knows you're never the only one. You're never the only one. Don't live inside your shame, 'cause everybody makes mistakes. Oh. Taking the time to make sure everything's okay. Picking up for everyone else each and every day. When you feel there's nothing left for you to spend on you, you're allowed to be happy too.